Welcome to the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor, live from Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road in College Station. Brought to you by Coors Light, Choose Chill, and Gig 'em Aggies. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find the real Texas barbecue near you. And by Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Now, here's Steve Miller.
And hi again, everybody. Welcome out to Rudy's Barbecue. We're here on Harvey Road in College Station. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour. We've got head coach of the Aggies, Joni Taylor, here. And a great crowd on hand as we have our final Aggie Basketball Hour for the season. And the final Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams happens here in about 60 minutes. So you've got 2 hours of basketball talk coming your way this evening. We'll start with the women before switching gears at 7 o'clock with the men. The Aggies had 3 games this past week, and, you know, everybody kind of gets one of those opportunities. Didn't go the way you wanted. A lot of them have some similarities and whatnot, but if we look back to yesterday was the one that was played closest to your hometown.
Yeah, we were in Starkville, Mississippi yesterday. That is about, 75, 80 miles from Meridian, Mississippi, which is where I'm from. So a lot of people were there. My high school coach was there. My parents were obviously there. One of my high school teammates played at Mississippi State, and it was their alumni game. So I saw a lot of people that I played against, and just friends came. So it's always good to go back. Actually, if we go backwards a little bit to Monday, we were in Tuscaloosa, which is not far from my house either, and also where I played. So, one of the things that I was telling our team, I was like, obviously we are going through a really, really challenging time right now. But one thing that, as I searched for gratitude, that I was really grateful for is to, back-to-back trips, be able to go play in places that provided great memories and comfort, and to see people, in some cases, who I hadn't seen in a really long time. So, finding not silver lining, but just there's always gratitude and joy if you look forward in the right spot. But yeah, played Mississippi State yesterday. Had a great first half against them. It got away from us in the third quarter, but I thought we did some really good things overall in the game.
One of those good things was Lauren Ware with a season-high 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, that's filling it up.
She did. She played really well. We thought, obviously, Mississippi State's got great size. They start at 6'7", and then they sub at 6'4". But even with that being said, we thought our forwards had the advantage yesterday, and so we did a lot of things to offensively put the ball in their hands, and they delivered. Lauren played well. The stat sheet says that she played well, but so did Jada, and so did Amira, for that matter. Amira only had 2 points, but she passed the ball really well. Some of those points that Lauren got came off of assists from Amira, and I thought our forwards did a really good job.
And Sahara is also in there on the point productions, and just this. We look at Sahara, and we've talked about this on some of our pregame visits and whatnot over the last couple of weeks, but she is one of those. There's just not a quit in Sahara. There's no matter what's going on.
Yeah,
that just comes across on the court.
She wants it so bad. Yeah. She plays so hard. I mean, she goes out there yesterday, and she's driving baseline at one point and falls on her hip. And where my parents were sitting yesterday was kind of like right behind the bench, but over to the side where Stacy and Yo are. And I was talking to my dad this morning. He was like, I didn't think there was any chance Sahara was going back in that game, the way she was over there crying and getting worked out and getting the hammer on her. And then I look up, and she's right back out there. I was like, well, I had no doubt that she wasn't going back in the game. That's who she's always been since she's been here. She is truly someone who is not perfect by any means, but takes advantage of every opportunity to play basketball and doesn't take those moments for granted.
Yesterday was the 127th game that Sahara played for Texas A&M.
That just speaks to she's had some injuries, nothing serious in season ending. And I think about just how many people don't get that opportunity, right? So for her to be able to number one, stay at one place for 5 years is incredible. And to be able to play that many games without having serious injury is also a blessing.
Things go by fast. She has started in 76 of the last 80 games, including 63 straight.
Wow.
I realize she's been here a long time. But will we see this going forward in college basketball as it stands today?
I don't think as much. We, interestingly enough, just sitting around the office about 2 weeks ago, we tried to name all of the seniors who had been at the same place from start to finish, and I think we got to 7 people in Division I basketball who had started and finished their career in the same spot. Now, I'm sure there's more, especially in conferences that I'm not as familiar with, right? Some, maybe some mid-major schools, but in just like the Power 4 schools, the ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, as we got to naming people who are seniors or fifth-year seniors, we could name about 7 people who started as a freshman and were still at the same institution as a senior or fifth-year senior.
And Sahara's a graduate of A&M.
She is.
She didn't have to come back and play this year, right? She could have gone wherever she wanted to.
She absolutely could have and had some opportunities to do that and wanted to stay. And, next year Jada will be in that same conversation. Jada's been here for 4 years and has a chance to come back next year. And so she's someone who, again, hopefully next year we'll be having the same conversation with her about staying in one place for 5 years. And I'll tell you this, there's people trying to come after her as well.
For sure.
So we've got to do everything we can to make sure we retain her.
And Jada, could have gone elsewhere. She had her injury and whatnot. She missed 612 days between games.
Yeah. Came back amazing.
Yeah.
In better shape. Her skill set has always been there. I think that last year, between understanding the love she had for the game and learning our system, really helped her come back and just be a force. And let's just be honest, Jada could start at a lot of places, right? And so she's someone who, when she's in the game, it's like everything is run for her as much as we can get it to her. Obviously, lately people have been sitting on top of her and sending 3 and 4 to her, but she's someone who just makes an impact as soon as she comes in.
I've been most impressed with her footwork this season. That seems to have been very noticeable to me.
Her pivots are really good around the rim. She's able to have multiple moves. And for all practical purposes, Jada would be considered undersized, right? She would be considered an undersized post player. And for her, the way that she can still get her shot off and get to her spot is really impressive.
Where does her positive attitude come from?
Jada, number one, she's really driven. She doesn't like to make mistakes. She doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and so when she does, it drives her absolutely crazy. She is type A to the type A. And so I think that's a lot of it. She wants to get it right, and because she wants to get it right, she spends a lot of time studying it to make sure she does get it right. And I think for her, where she's really grown this year is when she has made a mistake, she's been able to flip the page knowing, like, I am correct more than I am not correct, so let's move on and stay positive and stay in the right frame of mind.
There's been a couple of games you've leaned on her to start the game as well.
Yeah.
And, that's a different mindset.
Well, I think it's, we are basically now, based on who we're playing against, we have so many different ways that our starting lineup can look. It's been Erica Moon the last 2 games, but that's because we've gone against a 4-guard lineup, and it's just challenging for some of our forwards to guard some true legitimate guards at that position. But yeah, there were some games where we started Jada and she was ready to go. Again, like, Jada could start a lot of places any day of the week.
And we found ourselves talking about the post players. We'll stick with them for a few more minutes. But Lauren Ware transfers into this program and seems to be quite the leader.
Yeah.
And the mom at the same time. Is that a fair assessment?
That is fair. Lauren was that's who she was when I met her with USA Basketball. It was my first experience with Lauren. She was on the U19 team that I had an opportunity to be an assistant coach with Corey Close, who's the coach at UCLA. She was the head coach in 2021. Lauren was on that team, and as the post coach, I spent a ton of time with Lauren. And she was the mom then. She was the leader then. I can remember in the gold medal game, a lot of our players had nerves, rightfully so. And she was cool as a cucumber. She also was in the Final Four that year at Arizona, so she had been on that stage, and you could just tell she had it in her. And she is exactly who we thought she would be from the moment she got here.
What do you think she does behind the scenes that you've heard about that may not make the headlines? If you will?
I think she's a locker room lawyer. Everybody has a locker room lawyer. You just hope that the lawyer's saying the right things, right? She's our locker room lawyer in that regard. I think she models the right behavior academically. We've never, in the 2 years she's been here, got one report that she's been late for class, missed tutoring, missed study hall. Lauren is someone who, well documented, has had some issues with her knee. And so there's never a day where she's not in treatment or rehab or having to do something. And again, there's not been one time in 2 years where we've gotten a message saying Lauren didn't show up to rehab or Lauren was late for treatment. She just does what she's supposed to do. And so she models the behavior that then comes out of her mouth. And so, you know, what everybody says, like, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And Lauren says the right thing, and she also does the right thing.
I mean, we see her sometimes before a shoot-around, and you have the players recite their defensive responsibilities and tell me about whatever player you're assigned. And you can always tell before it's time. She's over there quizzing people. Hey, you know what you're going to say? Do you know what you're going to say? Like, we're not going to come here and make a fool of ourselves here.
Right. Yeah, she's on top of it. And there's been a couple of times where she's taken two people. She's like, I'm going to talk about her and her.
That's right.
And so she's just someone who takes that ownership and accountability.
Our fans have noticed that when Lauren's not in the game, she doesn't sit on the bench.
Yeah,
she's riding a bike.
Yep, which is great for her. And sometimes I've had to run and yell at her a couple times because she's so far away from me. I can't get to her. But no, she wants to keep her body warm and active, keep her knees warm. You know, we had a second practice when we got to Starkville the other day, and as we were warming up, I heard her say, I got to wake my knees up because we've already had one practice. They're shut down for the day.
That's right.
They're not used to doing anything else.
They didn't sign up for this.
Right. And so she wants to be ready to go, and so she goes and gets on that bike at home and on the road to make sure that she's not stiff.
All right. Well, coming up on the show, we have a lot of questions that we're going to get to, a lot of different topics that we've been building up for this. If you've got a question for Coach Joni Taylor, let us know about that, and we'll try to fit that in as well. I don't think are you taking karaoke requests?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, okay.
I certainly
never
will.
know how this could turn out, folks. All right, but you can only see it you can only hear it if you're here in person, right? I think we may have some rights issues if we sing it on air. But all right, when you want a quick, delicious, and nutritious hot meal in minutes, look no further than Heat Ups. Convenient, high-protein meals on the go with local pickup in Aggieland. Head on over to heatups.com to place your order. Heat Ups, meals made simple. We're live from Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor from Learfield. Head on over to your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com to place an order for their real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. And don't forget, Rudy serves made to order and grab and go breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. We are at Rudy's Barbecue this evening. It is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor. I'm Steve Miller. Great to have you with us. We've got the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams coming up at 7 o'clock. Both of these shows today are final episodes for this season. The Aggie women are getting set to travel to Nashville, take on Vanderbilt Thursday night at 6:30. You can listen on the A&M Sports Network locally, Zone 1150, or watch on SEC Network Plus. And then on Sunday, the Aggies host Arkansas, 2 o'clock at Reed Arena. It'll be senior day with activity starting around 1:40-ish or so. And you can listen on the A&M Sports Network and also watch on SEC Network Plus. But we'd love to see you out at the game and tell us about some of the senior day rundown here.
I can't give you the timeline.
That's all right.
I have no
We're
idea.
guessing here. We think it's about 1:40.
But
our timeline walked out the door. I saw her a second ago.
But we are going to honor our seniors. We always try to do that pregame. So and our managers as well. So we have 2 managers that are graduating. And then we have some seniors that are obviously Sahara and AC who are completely done. And then Lauren's a senior, Jada's a senior, Amira's a senior, and so is Kendall. Right, but they can all come back next year, but they want to walk with AC and Sahara, so we're going to honor them as well. If you remember, Sahara did this last year too, because she wanted to go with her original class. And so however many I just rattled off, I think that's 6 players and 2 managers, so we'll honor 8 people before the game. We'll play a short video and talk about them, their highlights, and then we'll take some pictures. And then after the game, we'll have a reception on the 3rd floor Reed with our Fast Break Club. Our Fast Break Club does a great job of hosting that event for us and honoring our seniors with cakes, and just they'll get up and we'll talk a little bit. But we're just so grateful to have have a time to celebrate them, recognize what it is that they've done, their commitment to us, and so we're excited about that on Sunday.
The bottom line, don't get too concerned with everyone that's walking out there.
Right.
Not everyone is exiting the building.
Correct.
As planned. So that's kind of the new thing. I mean,
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows these days? What about the Arkansas is the only team you're going to play twice in the regular season. The way the schedule shook out, used to be 3 teams, and then you may, could end up with, obviously play somebody in the conference tournament. But the game at Arkansas, you had Higginbottom and just a How can things be different this week, this Sunday?
Well, we've got to do a better job on her for sure.
Yeah.
I think she had over 20 at halftime.
Right. Yeah.
It was
she had
also,
her average at halftime.
She had her average at halftime. It was also our first game without AC. Now, obviously, we haven't won a game without AC. We have a better understanding of who we are without her. And I think we had a false sense of reality the first time around when we were at Arkansas as it related to what we were going to be able to do. In particular, where it showed up the most is guarding Hickenbottom. I mean, if AC were out there, that's who she would have been guarding, and things would have looked totally different. So we've got to put a plan together for her to make sure that she doesn't get herself going. And then where she's also really good is that she has people around her who can score. And so Arkansas is a team that once they start shooting the three, the basket looks like an ocean. And so everybody started getting hot. They feed off of that. And so we've got to do a better job of containing and protecting the three-point line to start.
And it did have an opportunity. The cylinder did close on them in the third quarter for a while, and that was a positive. And Higginbottom ended up with 33 points in there. Finally got his. But again, she's been their leading scorer almost every game this season. Almost
every game. Started at Missouri, transferred to Arkansas State, and then went back to Arkansas to finish her career.
And for Arkansas, they have. They've lost 6 straight since beating A&M, and that is their lone win in that 10-game stretch for them. They have who are they? They have Missouri on Thursdays, who they've got, and I believe that's a home game for Arkansas. So
that'll be a good game.
That'll be a good game. I mean, that's it. And
for the two of them, that'll be a really good game.
Yeah,
because Missouri's got 1 win or 2.
They've got about 2.
Yeah.
So. And then seeing A&M come up, and now you get to play them on your home court, and everything is different when you get to play a team at home.
Hopefully playing them a second time, having the momentum of senior day, we come out better prepared to handle her and to offensively be better too. We couldn't buy a shot at Arkansas, if you can remember, and I do think that we let not making shots affect how we showed up on defensively on that side of the ball.
The game earlier this week will be on Thursday at Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt kind of in the same boat. They've only won 1 of their last 6.
Yeah.
But if you haven't been paying attention, Michaela Blakes has scored 50 or more points twice in conference play.
She broke her own record.
Which was an SEC record, and
not an SEC freshman record, an SEC record.
SEC record. Yeah, we didn't even get to how old she was.
Right.
That's a whole different story.
She's really good. Her brother plays on the men's team. Did you know that?
Well, they had back-to-back game winners against Tennessee this season.
I know.
How cool is that?
So her brother plays for Vanderbilt as well. Michaela Blakes is a freshman, and she's very dynamic. I forget what she scored the first time because now all I have in my head is that she scored 55 against Auburn. And Auburn's pretty darn good defensively.
Yeah, I think it was 53 or 52 the first 50 games she had, something like that.
So that is not a freshman record. That is an SEC record. So when you think of all the great players that have been in this league, I mean, going back to my day of Shamika Holzclaw and like all the great players to break that record is just tremendous. So she's someone who plays really well. She plays well at home. She never stops moving. I literally have been watching film on them all day, and it is impressive how hard she cuts and the way she moves. She never stops moving, and so we've got to be able to send multiple defenders at her, give her different looks all night long.
That's funny. You've been preaching that to your team about moving.
Yes. People movement and ball movement.
And you can have really great things.
It's really hard to guard.
Yeah, that's right. And you can watch how it's really hard to guard with her. Now, the great thing is you're playing in one of your favorite gyms.
Oh, my goodness. That was a joke. You guys know that, right? Did y'all get that? So we all know what Memorial Gym looks like, right? Have we all seen that gym? So, yes, Elizabeth. So the court, if this is the court, right, instead of the benches being here, they're
on the sideline.
On the baseline. The benches are on the baseline. And so we are sitting here. The scores table is somewhere over here. And so when you want to get a sub in, they're having to sprint half a mile to get to the table. They changed the rule. I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, they changed the rule where coaches can now at least walk around the corner. We used to not be able to leave the baseline. And so here we are trying to call a play for our team who's playing down here, and we're standing on this end of the baseline. It was really hard. Now we can at least walk around a little bit and get to here. The other thing that's different about that, I'm shocked they're still playing there, actually. The other thing is that it's kind of up on a stage. And so the seats are below you. So when you're playing,
like
diving for a ball, like you feel like you're going to fall off the stage. And so there's a few places that we go over and shoot the night before, just because it's a funky setup, and Vanderbilt's definitely one of those places.
I don't know how it's still even allowed.
I really am shocked it's still allowed, and I'm shocked. I remember playing on that court as a player thinking there's no way, like at some point they're going to make them change the rule on this. It's really amazing they haven't.
How was it as a player?
Very weird. The only thing that was good about it is when you made a mistake and you didn't want to, and you acted like you couldn't hear your coach. You were like, I can't hear you. I can't, because you're so far away.
Rick Moody's voice didn't project all the way the other end of the building?
Oh, let me tell you a secret about Rick Moody. He didn't yell. He psst, psst, because no matter what's going on, you hear that. So that's how he got our attention. Psst, and everybody just turned. So, yeah, we heard him anyway.
Speaking of Rick Moody, he was at the game at Alabama this last Monday and didn't sit with the Alabama folks.
Yeah.
He sat at the end of the seats, right at the end of the bench.
He did. I love that man. So much of who I am is because of my college coach. He lives in Guntersville, Alabama now. He came to our game. A couple of my teammates were there as well. And obviously he bleeds crimson and white, but he sat not courtside, but the first available seats after our bench let up. He and his wife, Miss Sandra, were sitting right there. He pushed me to be more than a basketball player. Mm-hmm. He challenged me in that way, obviously, but I continue to be the well-rounded person that I am because he challenged me in other ways. The other thing he did was, obviously we play on Sundays, and he was late to shoot around every Sunday because he was the deacon at his church and he taught Sunday school. And so he walked into shoot around late every Sunday with his suit and his Bible. Never said a word, but he preached a message every Sunday that told us like what was really important. And so grateful to him, talk to him all the time. It was really good to see him and Miss Sandra.
Had a tremendous career there as the Alabama coach. What have you translated from him into your coaching style?
I think caring about people. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of friends of mine who even had great careers as players and walked away from that experience not prepared for life, or walked away from that experience not having a degree they could use because they were just all the coaches cared about was basketball only. And so I think one of the things is your life's the message, your life's the story. Make sure you're modeling the right behavior. He challenged the heck out of me on the court. Quiet but fierce. I mean, he asked me to do some things that I thought were impossible, only to find out that they weren't impossible. Mm-hmm. And just a good human being, a good human being.
Sitting next to him on the other side was another inspirational figure in your Alabama career. Tell us about the professor who was sitting at the end down there.
Dave Hageman and his wife Paula were also there. I was in the College of Education, obviously. My degree's in secondary ed, and he was in the College of Education. And so he was one of my professors when I was in school. He and I developed a great relationship when I was in college, and it has continued. Obviously to this day. So anytime we go to Tuscaloosa, he not only comes to the game, but he comes to shoot around. And so he was at shoot around earlier that day, and then he's just constantly, maybe I hear from him once a month, he just sends a message. And so it's what I try to tell our players all the time. If you do this right and you handle this, you know, we all have been stewards of a gift, right? And so stewardship means to handle with great care the gift that God gave you. And so if we handle the opportunity at Texas A&M the right way, if you handle your opportunities with your professors the right way, if you handle being at the Learning Center the right way, those are relationships and bonds and things that you're going to have for a lifetime. And so I tell them that all the time, and they look at me like I'm crazy when I say it. And then you go to Tuscaloosa and they're like, who is that man that shoot around? That's my professor from college. What? Right? And so it's like, and so we tell them all the time, there's so many opportunities and bonds that they have here, and I think they're starting to hopefully figure that out.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't flip back to Rick Moody and his longest inspirational speech given during a timeout live during a basketball game that broke out when we were there. They put a live microphone in the man's hand.
Did they?
Well, did you not see this?
Once the game starts, I don't see anything.
Oblivious. They're in a timeout. Second half, I think, timeout, and they get out there.
They gave him a microphone?
They gave him a live microphone,
wow.
and he's underneath the basket, and I think we're getting ready to shoot free throws coming out of the timeout, and he's down there. It's all been a great day, thanks for being here, and just does some rah-rah to the fans, and it just goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And on. Everybody's back out of the timeout, and it's like there's cameras everywhere. He's doing his whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
he's a preacher.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe they gave him a microphone.
Me neither. And he took full advantage of it.
I need to ask him about that. I didn't see that at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he was out there, and they finally
had to go kind of
got him moving along. Well, they couldn't get the mic. They handed it to him, so he wasn't giving it up.
Mistake number one.
Exactly. All right. At Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill, we source high-quality ingredients and make our recipes from scratch every day, starting with our fresh tortillas to our chips and queso, baja bowls, quesadillas, tacos, and more. Find us at costavita.com or in South College Station today. We're live at Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the bulletproof roof guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. We're back at Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor. I'm Steve Miller. Great to have you with us here. Coming up at the top of the hour is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Guys are getting set to take on Vanderbilt Wednesday, 6 o'clock at Reed Arena. Make sure to arrive early. Visit the fan zone located at the north entry. Got games, giveaways, food, and fun for all. For game info and to buy tickets in advance, check out 12th Man mobile app. Visit gameday.12thman.com. And a reminder, the Aggie women will take on Vanderbilt Thursday at Vanderbilt. 6:30 is the start there. And then Sunday, the final regular season home game for the Aggie women is against Arkansas at 2 o'clock, senior day. Make sure you get there by 1:40 to be a part of those festivities. And again, tickets at 12thman.com. I got some crazy questions for you.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So unfortunately, I don't know the actual. I try not to ask questions I don't already know the answer to. So I'm going out on a limb here.
Okay.
All right. What does Arkansas coach Mike Neighbors, an Achilles tendon, and a gunshot have in common?
Wow. So what year was this? I tore my Achilles. This was 2017. I tore my Achilles when we were at Georgia, and we are on the road recruiting in July. I am walking but not allowed to run. So I had surgery, coached the rest of that year on a scooter, which was great because I got to chase referees around. And then I am now allowed to walk but not run. And we are in a gym, and he and I are talking. It may be like year 1 or year 2 at Arkansas for him. So we're talking about the difference between Washington, Pac-12, SEC, all those things. And all of a sudden, if I'm looking at you and your mic, his eyes go about as big as saucers. And I turn around, and there are, like, wall to wall. We're in the downtown convention center in Atlanta, which is where they play games now. They put like 87 courts down in a convention center, and you just stay in one place and watch basketball. And there is a stampede coming our direction. And there's only one option, and that is to run.
You're not supposed to run.
And I can't run.
Oh, no.
And in the middle of that, someone is saying, there's a gun. There's a shooter in the gym. There's a shooter in the gym.
Oh, my.
Mike throws my arm over his shoulder and drags me out of the gym. Now, we have no idea where we're running to. We don't know if we're running towards the shooter, away from the shooter. We just know if we do not move, we are going to get run over. And I've always been someone who's been very judgmental about why are they running? Like, just don't run. Go somewhere, get against a wall. Like, don't run. I now understand that that's easier said than done.
Right.
And in the situation we were in, there was nowhere to go. Like, it is one option, and that is to move. So now when I see concerts where there's a stampede, like, I can understand it better. What actually happened was there was a leak in the roof that caused some lights to go out. And when the lights went out, it went pop, 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 pop.
Oh, no.
And somebody said, shooter. And everybody ran. Here's what I also now understand, too. A lot of police officers say the worst person to interview at a scene is a witness because they are so involved in what's going on, they probably don't get it right. If someone had put a camera in front of me when I got out of that building and asked me, was there a shooter in the gym? I would have said, absolutely, yes, there were. I heard the shots myself. What I actually heard were these folding chairs being knocked over by people as they were running, and they were going, da, 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 da. So I would have sworn to you that I heard gunshots.
You're a second person, not a first person.
Second person.
That's right. Maybe. You may be third the way this is going.
Listen, there were people, obviously, at these events, grandparents are there, young kids are there. You guys, there were people who were willing their elderly relatives into a corner, throwing a towel over them and running out of the building and leaving them in the corner. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. We all thought that there was a shooter in the gym. And 45 minutes later, they're back playing basketball. But Mike Neighbors saved me that day. He and I have always had a great relationship. We grew up in the business together as assistants. But he's someone who I respect because of who he is and what he does, but also has become a great friend, not because of that moment, but that is a moment I'll always remember and be grateful for.
He's trying not to pick you up at handshake at midcourt or anything.
No.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
All right. Tell me about Lamar Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And a draft photo.
Yeah.
And why that is influential.
Right. So, obviously, we are going through some challenging times, and we're constantly talking to our team about your breakthrough and your mentality is your reality and stewarding the gifts that you've been given and, you know, what we're playing for and reminding yourself of who God says you are and all those things. And a picture of Lamar Jackson showed up on my timeline, right? I like him. I don't follow him that way, but it showed up on my timeline, which, number one, I'm not on social media a lot. And so for him to be on my timeline was crazy. But it was a picture of him on draft night when he was the last one in the draft room. If you'll remember, Lamar Jackson played at Louisville, was supposed to be like the number 2 pick overall in the NFL draft. A handful of guys get asked to come to New York for the draft, and they're sitting there in the viewing room live, right? We can all picture this. And that night, instead of going second, he doesn't go at all. Like, he is the last pick. He's pick number 32. And so there's a picture of him laying on the table with his head in his hands, and his mom's got her arm around him. And I showed that picture to our team. Like, number one, do you know who this is? Do you know who Lamar Jackson is? Do you know the backstory? He was this at Louisville, picked to do this. And then here he sits. And, you know, his mom is the one who said to him, like, you're going to be fine. Your breakthrough is coming. Like, this is not where you start. It's where you finish. Just continue to do what you're supposed to do. And so we show that picture. And then I had Nancy pull his current stats and his current contract. So we pulled his rookie contract. I don't remember it now off the top of my head of what it was. And then he re-signed that contract worth like millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then he got another extension. And so he's getting paid like in 1 year, like some enormous amount of money, and has obviously had a great career. And so we are constantly finding ways to teach. The film room is truly a classroom. And so we took like Lamar Jackson, Louisville, Lamar Jackson in the draft room with his head down, only he and his mom in there crying, and then like what Lamar Jackson is doing now. And so it's just onward. Keep your feet moving. Don't get stuck in the mud. Don't give up. Giving up, we know how that's going to end, right? There's only one option here, and that is to believe that your breakthrough is coming. And in order to believe like your breakthrough is coming, you have to act like it has already happened. You have to act like it has already happened, because that's what faith is, right? That's what faith is believing what we do not see, but what we know to be true based on what God's put in our heart.
And that thing appearing in your timeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that. All right. We're live at Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets at Joni Taylor Autograph Basketball and will be recognized on the video board during the game. Register today, 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We're back at Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor. I'm Steve Miller. Coming up at the top of the hour is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. The guys are taking on Vanderbilt. That's Wednesday at 6 o'clock. The ladies will be at Vanderbilt Thursday night at 6:30, and then home on Sunday at 2 o'clock for Senior Day against Arkansas. And we were just at Mississippi State, which is, as you noted, 76-ish miles from your hometown of the metropolis of Meridian. And
third largest city in the state.
Your parents, they come to a lot of games here. They were there sitting right toward the end of the bench. But when you came out at the beginning of the game, the first thing you did is you went and greeted them and hugged your mom. Mm-hmm. Why was that?
Well, honestly, I mean, I see them all the time. They're here all the time. My mom is 83. She doesn't look a day over 70. Yeah. Two reasons. Number one, I wanted to see her because I felt like when the game was over, they were going to leave pretty soon. She didn't tell me that, but I knew it was going to rain, and they want to get back home. And I was right in that. I came out after the game, after we did radio, and I turned, and they were gone. Yeah. So I hugged her before the game. The other reason why I went and hugged her is because I didn't lie, but I kind of didn't tell her that the kids weren't coming. She assumed that everybody, because the kids normally travel on the weekend.
Your children.
My children. And so she assumed that JC and Drew and Darius and the Taylors were going to be there. She never asked me, and I just never told her they weren't coming. They had a program at church. They wanted to stay and go to church. And so I went to hug her, too, because I knew she was pretty probably miffed that she got there to find that JC and Drew, forget me, right? She was upset that JC and Drew weren't in Starville. She goes, where are the kids? I said, they're in College Station. So that's the other reason why I went to hug her.
Well, I noticed she and your father did not sit next to each other.
Yep. Well, he wanted to stretch out his legs.
Oh, okay.
So she was sitting in the original seat that she was given, and he, came on down and sat where he could stretch his knees out.
I didn't know how upset she was.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting next to you. All right. And so earlier this week on Monday, we were at Alabama, your alma mater, and talked about the professor. We talked about Rick Moody.
Yep.
How did you end up at Alabama as a player? Not too far from your home. Yeah. I get that.
I went to camp. One of my high school teammates went to camp there. I actually was, well, good Lord, I guess I'm going to say it. I've been going to Alabama in the summer, but I used to be a cheerleader. Don't look at me like that, Adeline. I used to be a cheerleader, and I actually was going to, in middle school, I would go to Alabama for cheer camp. So anyway, what my junior high teammate, now high school teammate, had gone for basketball camp, and she came back and she said, I went to Alabama's basketball camp this summer. Next summer, you're going with me. And I just was like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. And she's like, trust me, you are good enough to do that. And so the next summer, going into 10th grade, I went to camp at Alabama. And Leanne Gibson was my high school teammate and best friend who talked me into doing that. I fell in love with it. I met Reagan Phillips, who was also at the game and spent the week with us here in College Station. I met her there. I've known her since I was 15. She's still my best friend and was my college teammate. And so I fell in love with Alabama. That just kind of always sat with me, Coach Moody. And then I knew I wanted to play in the SEC, right? From just being where I was, that's all I saw. And so when I finally started taking visits and getting serious about the recruiting process, as much as there were other places that I thought I could go be successful, it was really hard to undo what had been done for such a long time, going to camp there for 3 summers in a row. And back then, camp was how you got recruited. I mean, you played AAU, but it wasn't what it is now. And so 4 of my college teammates were people that I had gone to camp with and had known since 9th or 10th grade, and we all made the decision to go to Alabama. So it was just a feeling that I could never really shake, and it was the right decision for me, and just grateful for everything that happened for my time at the Capstone.
Oh, you talk about in recruiting that sometimes the hardest part is getting that young person to come to campus. Mm-hmm. Can be on a Tuesday afternoon. It can be on a big football weekend. It can be anything. And you're another example of that. We just got to get you to campus.
You just got to come, right? And the schedules now make it even worse because AAU is year-round. Most of them play multiple sports. But if you come to campus, then there's a feeling you get that you cannot get through text, over the phone, or even us going to them and watching them play. And so it's now when during the recruiting process for me, when I'm talking to these other coaches, I haven't been there, but I can picture what it's like to be at Alabama, to play on that court, to be in the dorm room, to be around the coaches face to face.
All right, we've got to grab a timeout here. We're live from Rudy's Barbecue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor from Learfield. 12-Man Foundation is the official fundraising organization and ticket provider for Texas A&M Athletics. Support a 75-year legacy and help shape the future of Aggie athletics by donating today at 12manfoundation.com. We're back on the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor. Our remaining moments here. I'm Steve Miller. We're at Rudy's Barbecue here on Harvey Road. Reminder, the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams comes up here in about 7 or 8 minutes from now. We've got a couple of questions submitted by Samantha. She'd like to know, what is your favorite food?
Man, it depends. I could eat a salad every single day.
Oh, goodness.
Love salad. If I am having a bit of a pity party, then it's wings and pizza and a Coke.
What is your favorite color?
Anybody want to guess my favorite color? Black.
It's right there.
Black.
And what was your favorite game, either to coach or play?
Oh, man.
Most memorable?
Obviously, my favorite game to coach is basketball. My favorite game to play, I love games, like board games, card games, any kind of family night board game, card game is where I enjoy anything that's competitive, to be honest with you. I'm going to figure out how to win.
We've learned you're a
and have
competitive
fun.
person. You are competitive by nature. Shifting gears, NIL, the lifeblood of programs right now, the way things are going. What can people do to help support what we're calling NIL today?
Well, there's several ways. Obviously, Texas Aggies United is a great way to support because you can go on there and your funds can go directly to women's basketball. You can click a link to do that, or you can call JT Higgins and he can walk you through that process. We also have started a player sponsor program where we have some of our special donors and fans who want more of a relationship with our players, and so they can Brett Richards is running that for us, and obviously there's a contract that goes along with it, but you get to have one-on-ones with our players, whether that's breakfast, lunch, coffee, once a month, once every 2 months in season, depending on how the schedule works. And there's NIL opportunities through that as well. Obviously, the other way to support NIL is if you own a business, if you are a business owner, is to give an NIL deal to one of our players. And so those are the 3 ways right now that you can help support us in that. And it is, I can't say enough. I would say that a lot of us are not sure what NIL is. A lot of us may not agree with what NIL is. But what we all need to agree on is if this is where we are and it's not changing and it's not going away, and if we do not support our teams, not just football. In football, runs everything, and they need to run everything. They support all of us. But if we don't wrap our heads around how important NIL is for everyone, we are not going to have the success that we all want, because that is where we are now in college athletics. The
playing field may be equal on the court, and departments may be funding teams at what is deemed a competitive level, but the difference is the NIL differs from school to school because there's no standard.
Every state has a different rule. It's not regulated by the federal government like an NCAA rule would be. So each state has a different rule as it relates to NIL. So what we can do in Texas is different than what can be done in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, California. And so state laws dictate how NIL works, and it definitely creates an advantage.
And it's constantly changing. The landscape could have been changing while we were talking in the last 45 seconds.
I read more on RevShare and NIL than I ever have before. And so it's important to keep a pulse on it because the conversation is constantly changing. And it's important to know the best way to support your players, to be creative about supporting your players, because we all know recruiting is the lifeblood of our program. The best quote ever, I still don't know one that's better, is John Wooden's, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, right? And so it doesn't matter how great of a coach you are. If you don't have talented players, then you're not going to be successful.
All right. Joni, thank you.
Absolutely.
That is the Aggie Basketball Hour for this season. Thank you for being a part of it and being here each and every night. We thank everybody else who has come out and supported the shows all year long. To our engineer, Kevin Minchow, and to Lacey Williams back in Jefferson City. And for Coach Joni Taylor, I'm Steve Miller. Have a great night. The Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams is coming up next. This has been the Aggie Basketball Hour with Joni Taylor from Learfield.